Okay, I know I did a negative review on this several of a negative review, but now I want to do a positive review on Spider-Man Far From Home because after revisiting the film, I think I like it a lot. I know I said that before, but this time I gave more of my time to thinking and well, I have like really three major complaints about this film. One is it's not as long as Homecoming. Homecoming was 2 hours and 13 minutes, and this is 2 hours and 9 minutes. And the reason why I find that a serious problem because I feel like if the film was like 15 minutes longer, it could have saved this. It could have might have had a better chance of saving itself. And in other words, it could have been a lot better than it is if it was 15 minutes longer. And second, I think another reason why and I think the pace making the film longer could have helped. I noticed that Peter Parker doesn't joke as often as he did in Homecoming, but his jokes are funnier. They pack more of a punch. But however, it's not as consistent. It's like it feels sort of like he's struggling with serious anxiety and grief and PTSD and bad trauma caused by Tony's death from Endgame. But by the third act, he gets over it from a pep talk from Happy. It's how he gets over it feels kind of rushed. I feel like. In fact, you can argue the whole film feels kind of rushed throughout the three-act structure of the film. And yeah, the whole thing is a mixed bag, I feel like, but I'm leaning more towards good. The whole thing feels like a mixed bag of storytelling and pacing problems. So you want to hear the story, right? Right? Okay. The story is I told you about his Peter Zark and this now, and now I'm going to tell the story. So anyway, Peter wants to impress this girl called MJ. So he keeps on sending Nick Fury to voicemail. Anyway, he ends up in Paris, where he runs into Nick Fury, and twist at the end quick. Nick Fury throughout this entire film, that's not the real Nick Fury. That's a Skrull, and the Skrull that's Miranda Hill, who is Nick Fury's right hand woman, is not the real Miranda Hill. It's just another Skrull posing by who worked for Nick Fury. And so the Skrull is not as paranoid as Nick Fury is, I guess. So that's why he couldn't figure out that he didn't have any that's why he didn't have any suspicion that Quentin Beck is a bad guy, who is Mysterio. That's another twist. And the third act of the film, that's revealed in the halfway point, that Quentin Beck is the bad guy. So Nick Fury turns out let's go back to the beginning of the story. Nick Fury is working with Quentin Beck, known as Mysterio to the public name, and he's played by none other than Jake Gyllenhaal. And once again, Tom Holland has reprised his role as Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and so yeah, they bond together, Peter and Nick bond, throughout like until the relationship stops at halfway point when we find out, us the audience find that Quentin Beck's the bad guy, and the elementals that they've been fighting is complete bullshit set by Quentin Beck and his team who work for him. His team and Quentin are all stock employees that Stark fired. And Dumbhead Diaz, who was Warmonger, and Iron Man 1, who was the bad guy that Tony Stark killed, was not any hesitation. So, yeah, I remember in my other review how there's a side, the main story is, they made this, I know how they made the side stories, about grief and anxiety and, a romance in First Love. And they made the main story about be a spy's espionage. Like, that's the main story. Yeah, so how it balances itself is kind of a little bit of a mess. At times. So Spider-Man, once he finds out that Mysterio's the bad guy, he has to take him down. He takes down Mysterio and saves the day. And wait, there's a twist on a date with MJ. Yeah, he's now dating MJ now. The public finds out that his secret identity is Peter Parker, and because how they found out because Quentin Beck's team ran out Peter Parker's identity and put the whole Paris thing with the drones and stuff. And Quentin Beck, him and Quentin Beck made a video to make Peter Parker look like the bad guy. Like he looks like he's the mastermind behind all this. And the public seems to buy it. And that's where it ends. And, so, another thing I gotta say about this, I think Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is a very interesting, fun villain. Him and the Vulture and the MCU are the two best villains I think in the MCU. Because the most memorable of us and the most funnest of them all, of the other ones, and so in case you can't tell, the whole story put together is kind of a little bit of a mess, actually. So, what makes me like this film, what saves this film for me, what stops it from being total garbage is Tom Holland's giving 1,000,000% as his performance on Spider-Man. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it just feels like he, you know, it feels like sort of like he just understands Spider-Man and his character and how to perform his lines right. However, the story is on techno scale. The story on techno scale is the worst Spider-Man story. When you look at it on a technical level, technically you just look at the story and the spotlight, you look at, this is really the worst Spider-Man story ever in cinema. But you see, I don't know how, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man kind of saved the film for me. Which is giving his best performance as Spider-Man yet. Another issue I have is that he has less lines and less stuff, therefore less stuff to work with than he had in Homecoming. So, yeah, I recommend this film. I think what bothered me, why I gave it a negative review, because it didn't really up the ante. It didn't really up the excitement in the opposite, even though it takes more risks than Homecoming did. But however, at the same time, it has more trouble balancing the stuff out that they took more risk with, in terms of the storytelling and the action scenes. Well, this is how the action scenes are played out. Don't always really feel 100% pure like Spider-Man action scenes, because because Spider-Man usually, when he does action scenes, he usually cracks a bad joke during action scenes, because that's his thing. He always constantly jokes during stressful situations to cope with it. He uses humor to cope with the stressful situation. I'm talking about the Spider-Man from the comic, which, again, this and all other Spider-Man are trying to do, capture that personality. But I feel like Homecoming did a better job in handling his personality, even though this movie gave him better jokes, which is Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home. This movie gave him better jokes, but Spider-Man Homecoming he knows more how to handle his personality, and I feel like 15 minutes for edited off of this film. I said that for the end. So we're like nice basically to see a cut of this film with 15 minutes edited back onto it. And also, I have a feeling this had two writers writing the story, and it kind of shows. When I saw the credits, I said, I called it two writers writing the story. So, yeah, not a good thing. So yeah, I lost the train of thought. Yeah, so I recommend this one. I give it a thumbs up.